What I need to do next is access my Layers panel. If I go into the Window menu and choose Layers, you'll notice on my Layers panel, all the layers that I've created so far appear in my Layers panel, but they all have generic names. We need to make sure, in order for us to create the JavaScript to make this disjointed rollover work, that we name our original layer and our rollover layer accordingly. So let's select our layer where the original button appears, and we'll double-click the layer name in our layer panel and rename it. We'll go ahead and call it News. Now we'll do the same for the disjointed rollover layer. We'll select the layer where the disjointed rollover appears, and on our layer panel, we'll double-click that layer, and we'll call this Rollover. Now we've clearly indicated where the rollover and the original appear. All that's left for us to do now is to access our Behavior panel and use what's called the Show Hide Layer behavior to add the JavaScript for our disjointed rollover. So we'll access our Behaviors panel, and remember that we're going to, of course, make this layer appear when somebody rolls their mouse over this button. So we'll probably want to hide this layer before we even add the behavior. Let's select our disjointed rollover layer. You'll notice it's selected by the selection points. And you'll notice that on our property inspector, there's what's called the visibility menu. By default, all layers are visible. But if we choose this menu and we make this layer hidden, now if we deselect the layer, you'll notice it's not appearing initially. And that's because we don't want it to appear until somebody mouses over the image. Now that we've done that, we can select our original button in our original layer, go into our Behaviors panel, and we'll choose the Show Hide Layers behavior. Now, since we've named our layers accordingly, all we need to do is choose the layer we want to affect, which in this case would be our layer that we just, of course, hid the visibility for, called Rollover. And when somebody mouses over our Breaking News button, we want to show this layer. Therefore, we'll choose the layer and click Show. Now, by default, DREAMWEAVER adds a mouse event called onMouseDown to our original button. But I want to turn this into a rollover. So in order to make this into a rollover event, we'll click on the Event panel, and we'll, instead of choosing onMouseDown, we'll choose onMouseOver. Now, when somebody mouses over the image, now that layer will be shown.